So here we have an invoice from a steel company called Edcon Steel. It's actually a quotation really, more than an invoice. And they've listed quantity and unit. Now in some cases you can see that it's a square meter, so that's hot rolled sheet, so that's flat sheets of metal, and you're paying the unit that's been sold at is per square meter. And at 5.76 square meters we've been charged $56.66 per square meter. So if you multiplied $56.66 by 5.76, you're going to get that much money, excluding GST. Now you notice that other materials are sold differently, like the round bright mile finish, which is just round steel stock or round steel bar, is the units, we're talking 48 meters here, and it's being sold at per meter, so 82 cents per meter, and there's 48 meters and there's the total. So different material down here, 13 by 13, it's SHS stands for square hollow section. Mill finishes means it's not galvanized or it's not chrome plated or anything like that, it just has the milling finish. And it's now $2.60 per meter length. So you can see that prices vary a lot. There's a cutting charge for guillotine, so every time an object's cut, it's $3 a cut, and there's 64 cuts to cut all this up into the sizes that we want, and that's going to cost $192 in cutting charges. So to work out the cost of, say, a simple project like our barbecue that we're going to make, we're going to need to know what the cost per unit is, and in most cases it's going to be a meter, the meter length, the cost per unit for the product, and multiply it by the number of meters that we're going to need of that product, so, or square meters if it's flat sheet. So that's what we need to do. So we're going to use a spreadsheet to do that, and we can use Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel. I think I've chosen to use Microsoft Excel. So here's an Excel spreadsheet. Google Sheets looks very similar. So we might, each one of these are cells, so you can click on them and they're like a little unit which we can do things with. So let's give it a title. We'll call it barbecue costing spreadsheet. Now I guess we need to list down what the items are. So let's just start with one. We knew that we had that first item. Where is it? Over here. So it was 3 meter hot rolled sheet. So let's put that in there. It's 3 millimeter, I should say, thick hot rolled sheet. Now I'm going to present that you don't know much about spreadsheets at all and talk to you right from the beginning. Now you can hover over the middle line up the top here and widen, or you can narrow your cells. See how I did that? And like that, widen or narrow. Now the other thing you can do, which is really useful, is if you hover on the cell and then you can right click and get this menu, and it says format cells down here. Click on the left click on the format cell, and then where it says alignment, and on that tab it says alignment, click on that, and you can click on this little magic button called wrap text. Click on the wrap text so it's highlighted, click OK, and all of a sudden it will wrap your text around to fit inside the one cell so it doesn't start stringing out over other cells. That's useful if you want to compact your table and make it a little bit easier to follow and keep it on the one sheet. So that's the item that we're going to do. Now the next thing that we probably would want to put down would be the cost of the item per unit. So let's just call it the unit here now. So we'll call it the square meter. That's the unit, square meter. And you see how it's rolled over again. Now if I want to make all of my cells into that sort of that wrapping style, just click on this button at top left hand here and it highlights. It's a highlighting button. Highlight the whole spreadsheet, and then you can do the same process. Right click, go to it should be format really, formulas, format cells, there we go, and then back to your alignment tab, and that button's now just got it's sort of like a tentative button. Click on it so it's ticked, click OK, and then all your cells will now automatically start to wrap their text. So the unit is a square meter. We might give it a heading here too. So we'll call this the item name, and then we'll call that the unit. So let's say the unit of that we're going to be selling it. We'll go cost per unit in the next column. So let's highlight these. We can just hit the bold button up here, and now we've got item name, we've got the unit, and we've got cost per unit. Now the cost per unit, we'll have to go back to that spreadsheet to see what that is. I think it's somewhere down floating around here. There it is there. Okay, so the cost per unit was 56.66. So 56.66 per unit in dollars, 56.66. Now at the moment, it doesn't know whether the spreadsheet doesn't know whether that's dollars or whatever. We want to format that to let it know that it's dollars. So if you highlight that whole column, because we're going to use a column, right click here again and go to format cells, and this time instead of the alignment, click on the number section here, and we'll tell it that we want it to be currency. Currency just means money. Now when we click currency, we can choose the sort of money, how it wants to look. 2 decimal places is good. Do we want to have negative numbers? Do we want to have, let's just leave it at 2 decimal places, and we'll have it in this format. So not red or not brackets, we're just happy with that. Okay, so straight away your thing appears in dollar and cents format, which suits us pretty well. Okay, so next stage here would be to work out how many units we are going to have of the buying unit. So let's say we're going to buying unit, or buying quantity, I should say, buying quantity. QTY just short for quantity. So to work this out, now we're only using a 300 millimeters by 300 millimeters sheet. That's 0.3 by 0.3. So 0.3 by 0.3 is going to be, well, just off the top of my head, 0.09 of a meter. 0.09 of a meter. Okay, so that's how many square meters we're buying. Right, so we're buying by the square meter, and we've got 0.3 by 0.3 is going to be 0.09 square meters. So that's the buying quantity. And what we should do also is make sure that these things are formatted to wrap as well. So format cells, alignment, you guessed it, wrap text. We'll make sure that happens. I thought it was ticked on. Okay, buying unit or buying quantity. That doesn't work for some reason. I don't know why it isn't, but you can always drag down. If you scroll across here, you can find that little happy thing where it gives you your up and down arrows, and you can increase the size of this. So these are just headings that we're using in this column row number 2. They're just headings. I'll highlight it as well. The buying quantity. Now comes the magic. We want to multiply the buying quantity by the cost per unit, and that will give us how much we actually have to pay for our 300 millimeter square. So to do that, click on the cell that you want the result of this mathematical operation to be in. That's this cell here, which is F3. And then at the top here, click the equals sign. Now don't click, but you'll have to type it in. Equals. Now that straight away tells the software that this is going to be a calculation cell. So next thing we're going to, after the equals sign, we're going to say we want select this item. You can just click on it, and notice how it hovers with that little running ants type thing, and it highlights that cell. And up the top here in the navigation bar, you've got D3, so it's giving you the cell location. So it says whatever the contents of D3 are, you want to do something with them. And I say yes, I want to multiply them. Now you use a little the asterisk button up the top there to do multiplication. I want to multiply those contents by the content of the cell next door, which is the buying quantity, that one. So I click it. Now what it knows now is that in this cell which I selected, which was F3, in that cell it's going to multiply the contents of D3 by E3, and it will yield the result. It will produce the result. Let's hit enter. And there we go. So now we could have done that with a calculator, but the beautiful thing about setting up, and when I click on that cell you see the formula appears, is that whenever I have any kind of items here, I can just drag this cell down and this will automatically calculate whatever the contents of this cell, the cell on the row, two cells two rows down from it, it'll multiply that content by the cell that's one row down, one column down I should say, not row, one column down, and it'll give you the result. I don't have to do it again. So let's try that, because that means, alright, let's try that with something else, because I can see you going, oh, show me how that works. Alright, let's do it. We'll go back to our, there it is, our sheet. Here's our next thing. Now we've got 6.3 millimeter semi-bright mill finish round. Okay, and it's 82 cents. So let's just write that in. 6.3 millimeters bright, not spelling that well, am I? Bright round, and the unit is a meter, and the cost per unit was, I think it was 86 cents, wasn't it? 0.86. Now because I formatted all of these cells, it automatically shows me that as currency. See how that's useful? Now the buying quantity, now look, I'm guessing this, but I'm kind of worked it out. You can work it out by looking at your plans. You have to measure around and see how long we wanted this material. You'll have to work that one out, because that's the actual leg of the barbecue. And I'm just going to say that it's going to be 600 millimeters, all right, which in meters is 0.6, so 0.6 of a meter. So I've automatically know that one leg is going to cost me 52 cents of that material. And okay, well that's good, but you know, we've forgotten something. What happens if we're going to use more than one item? So in that case we should put another column in here saying how many of these items we're going to use, 1, 2 or 3. Like I'm going to have 2 legs. In some cases I might have 11 grill bars, so I need to write that item because that needs to be multiplied in there. Okay, so alright, so what do we do here? Well, highlight this column because we want to add in a column. So if you highlight the column, go up to the top where it says insert here on the navigation bar, and then click on that, and it says insert cells, insert sheet columns, let's insert a sheet column. Click on that. We've got an extra column bumped into here. So we've got the buying quantity here. Now we've got a number of items as a next thing. So we've only got one of that, one of the grill plates. We're going to have 2 legs, so click on 2 for 2 legs. But nothing changes. Well, why? Is it because this formula only really is talking about those 2 cells. This cell here, the D1, and this next to it, the cost of the unit. I need to incorporate that into it. So I'm going to change this formula. So I'll click on it again. I might start at the top. And I'm going to go, I want this total now to be the cost per unit, the cost per unit divided by the buying quantity, which is 0.09. I should say, I beg your pardon, cost per unit multiplied by the buying quantity, and then multiply again by how many of these items I'm going to buy. I'm going to buy 1. So I'm going to alter this formula, put my little asterisk in there, and I'm going to write multiply these 2 by this, the contents of this cell here, which is the number of items. Now that won't change because it's only one item, but look what happens if I put 2 items. I click on 2 items, all of a sudden the cost has doubled because I've got 2 of those items. You see how that's really useful when you want to change things. I'm going to Control Z to go back to where I was. I shouldn't have hit enter. If you want to change it, just click the one up here, alter it up in the navigation bar, and then you can hit enter and we're good to go. Right, so now that formula that I've created is not the same as the formula that's below it. So I have to copy this formula all the way down. So when I highlight the cell, go to the bottom right hand corner, you see how you get that little plus sign there? When you got that, that's the fill handle. Just drag it all the way down, and then it will copy the formula that you've just created at the top into all the other content. See how now it's got the extra, multiplying the extra cell there? So now I know that my barbecue is going to cost me $1.03 in legs. I can keep going down here and writing all of the other items that I'm going to do, but at the bottom I want to have a total. So I'm going to label this total cost of the barbecue right down here. See where I've got my cell here? So I want that to be the total. Now I'll make that cell stand out a bit. I'm going to go here to the cell borders function and I'm going to give it a thick outside border like that. There you go. So it's the total cost. Now I want this total cost to reflect the cost of all of the parts put together, so I know how much my barbecue is going to cost in materials. How do I do that? Well, it's pretty simple. I can click on this cell and then I'm going to tell it there's going to be a formula. So remember what that was? Yeah, it's the equal sign. So if you hit the equal sign, it knows it's going to be a formula. And then I can do a couple of things. I can use the sum function, or I can just add them all up, this plus this plus this plus this, or I can just hover and then drag down. Now that's the selection set, but I'm going to select that section set and I'm going to write in front of here, I'll see if this works, it may not, sum. And I want it to sum all the way from there to there. Let's see if that works. Damn, it works. Okay, so there you go. So what I did there, just to go back over it, was I selected all the cells that I wanted to use, which were all the way from here all the way down to there, and I created a range, and that was the range that you saw at the beginning. So let me do that again for you. So we'll go the other way. I'll write the word sum, because sum means to add up, and it's a function. Now open up the brackets, because that's the argument of what the function is, whatever it's going to do, and I want it to sum all the cells from here. So I click on it and I'm dragging, holding my mouse button down all the way to there. That gives me a range. See that G3? That's G3, all the way down to G12. And then I close my brackets to say I'm finished telling you what I want you to add up, and I hit the enter button and it's done it for me. Now we can do it like that, but there's another way which is even probably easier for you, and there's a built-in function here called sum. See it over here? Now hopefully that's going to work for me. Click on that. No, it's grayed out. Okay, so I'll just do that again for you. Control Z so you can see it. Alright, and escape. Now this function up here, that capital S that you see, is called a sigma. It's the sum function. You hover over it, it'll tell you that. Now if you click that, it tells Microsoft Excel that you want to add up a whole bunch of cells. Now there's a bit of artificial intelligence built in here. It'll guess which way those cells are going, and it's pretty obvious looking at this. It'll pick up that it's just these cells, but you can tell it if you're not sure. Or if there's, say, cell, more details coming across this way, you can actually highlight where you want by dragging with your mouse. But I'm just going to click the sum button. So you click the sum button here, and you see how that function automatically popped up? It says sum, and it guessed that I want to add up from here down to there. Well, you know what? You guessed right. So I hit enter, and it's done the same thing for me. So I've now got a total of my barbecue, and as I keep adding things on here, it's automatically going to add them up, and I'm going to get my total. How good is that? Yeah, alright. So now you want to make it look a little bit prettier. You can grab all your cells and then use your cell borders function here and just highlight the cells so you can sort of see them. You can color your columns. Go, I want that one to be, let me say, a nice light grey, because I'm going to print it in black and white, and I want this one to be, bold. You can do all sorts of stuff. Like some things I like to do is I like to have my headings stand out. So if I fill all those cells that I've just highlighted here now with my cursor, if I fill them all, this is a fill button, make them all black like that. Can't see the writing, but I'm still highlighting this area. If I then go to my font function and I say make my font white, bang, I've got this nice bright standout kind of headings like that. So you can make yours like that and make it look cool. Put colors in there, have rainbows, whatever you like, but the main thing is that you're getting a total down here. I want to make that bold so it stands out. I can make it bigger if I wanted, like I want a big total to stand out. Let's see if I can increase it. See what I'm doing here now with that text up font size. Oh, I've got the wrong one. It's highlighting that one. I want this one to go up. Now that's it. So there's my total. Okay, so that's how you're going to create your spreadsheet. All good.